Ready, Rock?
Hey.
On today's episode of the CLS Experience, we have a very special treat. He's the creator, founder, and the pulse behind the iconic Spartan Race Phenomenon. He's the definition of being mentally tough. He's one of the baddest entrepreneurs and endurance athletes on the planet, possessing an abundance of grit, heart, and that rare maniacal drive. He's a New York Times best-selling author of one of my personal favorite books, Spartan Up. His impact has initiated a worldwide ripple effect. He's just an overall juggernaut in all facets of life and a terrific human being. Please welcome the iconic Joe de Sena. How you doing, Joe?
How you doing? I don't want to screw this up, but I just found out I need to plug in my computer. That was that beep. We're gonna keep talking, and the audience is gonna be on the edge of their seat, knowing if I'm. Wait, Alex, I need a
You ain't going nowhere.
Can you give me? Can you? My daughter is on a Razor scooter, and she just scooted into the living room. And
Good.
She's away, and you got to get me a charger. And she's 8 years old, going on 100. She's awesome.
Good. How was that for an intro? Did I do you good?
Oh my God, you made me feel like my wife doesn't even talk to me. I listen to that. I'm like, man, I'm a superstar.
You are a superstar.
There we go.
And also, I want to just let you know, when I read your book back in 2017, I needed it at a time in my life where I needed to hear the stuff that you were talking about. It's your mentality. And I took a lot of notes from your book, and often I'll go back to it and just read some of the excerpts. And I just wanted to read to you in front of you and to the audience some of the excerpts that I got from your book, just to show how badass and influential you've been.
Tell the truth, though. Did you really read the book? Come on.
To be honest with you, I read the book before each marathon that I ran, and I ran 4 last year. So I read your book about 5 times.
How did you find the book?
I'm not 100% sure. I was just in a place in my life at that time where I needed something badass, and I needed an outlet. And somehow I popped into your book at the right time because of everything that you spoke about in there.
It's awesome. All right, let's hear it.
Let's hear it. Challenging yourself to accomplish more than you know you can helps you show what you're capable of. It creates a new frame of reference, one you can draw upon in the face of other things that are perceived as being tough in your life. It shows you possibilities you didn't know existed. You have to be able to do the time. When you sign up for something, you're forced to train for it. Just like in a business or having a kid, you're forced to take care of it. All of a sudden, you become accountable.
Sounds better than I remember. So changing your frame of reference, right?
That's everything.
That's everything. And you know, I grew up in a crazy neighborhood in Queens, and a lot of people would go away, and they would go away for a decade or 15 years, 25 years, and you do something like that, you just appreciate everything when you get home, right? You appreciate like the little things you didn't even notice before. So on a much smaller scale, when I would do these crazy races, you just want to die when you're out there. I'd be out there for 10, 15 days. You're out of food, you're freezing. You get home and the little things no longer annoy you because you're so appreciative. You have so much gratitude towards like a glass of water, a bed. So I guess you picked it up in the book.
Yeah. And also, like, recently I've been doing fasting, just experimenting with that. And it's like, once I break the fast, like, just having a meal prep, which, used to be boring, now is like the most exciting thing because I'm just grateful for a meal. And it's like you said, and also like beating the shit out of yourself first thing in the morning so that the rest of your day, like, you already have an edge. Like, it's only uphill from there. So all this stuff, like, yeah, I know a lot of the stuff you talk about is on races and obstacles and stuff like that, but it's such a metaphor for life, that frame of reference. How bad are things really once you've been through hell?
You got to go through hell every day, every morning.
That's it. And I'll read the last excerpt. Start your day in hell. If you start your day involuntarily suffering, everything that comes afterwards is just a relief. I'll tell you that. I just want to say this is the one line that really got me to start running marathons and all that stuff. A fire burns within all of us, and we need an outlet to prove that we've got the fighting spirit. That really landed with me specifically.
Awesome, and I got you running.
Yeah, you did. I always lifted weights. That was my thing for like 20 years. Not like a professional or anything. That's just me in the gym. After I read your book, I went for a run. I was humbled because I had trouble running a mile without stopping. And then it occurred to me that did I really have trouble or was it my perception of effort? Next thing you know, I'm signed up for the New York City Marathon 4 months later. And then I ended up running 4 marathons that year. And I PR'd at 3:39 in Philly last November. So that was super cool. And now I'm signed up for Chicago.
Congrats. I love it.
I
I love it.
appreciate it.
And we got to get you out to a Spartan. Hey, that's Charlie. Charlie,
That's next. Charlie, what's up, buddy? I'm Craig. How are you?
Say hello to Craig. So Charlie,
Is this the wrestler?
Charlie's a wrestler. Charlie's 13, and Charlie ran the New York Marathon when he was 7.
Did you? Yeah. Holy shit! Now you're making me feel small. I didn't even know that was possible.
No, so it's not possible.
We
but
stopped like 8 times.
We stopped 8 times. We stopped. Check this out. We stopped in Brooklyn for bagels.
Yeah.
Right. We stopped in Queens for pizza. We stopped in where were we? In the Bronx. I coming over that bridge there, mile 18. There's a White Castle. We hit White Castle. We went over the bridge. Upper East Side. We had Haagen-Dazs.
Oof.
Yeah. It was like almost like being at Epcot Center for the day.
That's great. Good. I heard great things about you with the wrestler. Keep up the great work, champ.
Say thank you.
Thank you.
Charlie's also the one. He might be in that book. He was probably 4 or 5. I had him swim a mile with a life jacket on.
Of course you did.
And a lady on her dock came out on a little kayak and she started like screaming at me and get him out of the water. The sun's going down. And I was like, Charlie, come on. We're 5 minutes from greatness. We got to make it to the shore. We were fighting over my son. It was pretty funny.
That's awesome. Before we get a little deep, because I know obviously the audience wants to hear about the journey, we're going to get a little weird. I'm going to ask you some fun questions. You ready for me?
Do it.
What's your superpower, Joe?
Motivating other people.
Love it. Describe yourself in 3 words.
Describe myself in 3 words. Energy, energized, motivated's the same word. Relentless.
Yes.
Happy. Energized, relentless, happy.
That's great. And you are relentless.
I am relentless.
What's something very interesting about you that a lot of people probably wouldn't know?
I love my daughters. And I miss my mom.
Fair enough. What makes you feel most alive, Joe?
When my eyes open in the morning. When I open my eyes in the morning, I feel alive.
Living in that state of gratitude. I absolutely love it. When did you officially become Joe 2.0?
Joe 2.0 was born late 90s when he found adventure racing and all this crazy shit.
And that will bring it back. I know you said earlier in the conversation you grew up in Queens and you kind of had that entrepreneurial spirit from a young age when you were cleaning pools for some of the wise guys in the neighborhood, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Used to clean swimming pools for them. My neighbor was head of a banana organized crime family, and he took me in under his wing, my preteens, and meet him there on a Saturday morning. He's going to pay me $35 to clean the pool, and he gave me 3 life lessons that morning. He said, I had to be there at 8 a.m. He said, on time is late. He said, if you're going to be here at 8, you better be here at 7:45. He said, if you're going to do the job, you got to go above and beyond. Don't just clean the pool, straighten up the lawn furniture, go in the shed, straighten up the shed, even though I'm not paying you for that. And third thing, don't ever ask for money. You'll get paid if you do a good job. And those lessons stuck with me for life.
Love that. That's deep. That just hit home. And then you ended up turning that into a pretty successful business, right?
Sold that business in 95. Sold that business in 95. It was a big business and went to Wall Street. I took 10 steps backwards, took a $35,000 a year salary on Wall Street. Found myself crying one day on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Couldn't do the math quick enough. Was trying to answer 7 phones at once. Couldn't believe that I went from big man on campus to like nothing on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange in a tiny little corner of a space. And sometimes you got to take 10 steps backwards to take a big step forward.
Yeah. And before that, you said relentless. Correct me if I'm wrong. You applied to Cornell 4 times.
I did, and on the fourth time, I finally got in. I was graduating high school. I had no intention of going to college. A friend of mine in Ithaca, New York. My parents were divorced. My mother wanted to get me out of the neighborhood. Moved us to Ithaca, New York, where Cornell is. Otherwise, I wouldn't have even known what Cornell was. And my friend says, "Come on, let's go. Let's apply to university." There was 3 months before we graduated high school. I said, "How would we do that?" Because my grades weren't good. And he said, "Well, my father's a professor. He'll get us in." So that made sense to me coming from the neighborhood I came from. Oh, we got an in. We got a guy, and we both applied. We did our interviews, and neither of us got in. But now I was interested. Now I wanted to go. So I found out you can go extramurally, so you're not official. You can take 3 classes while the other kids that got in officially are taking 5 classes. So you'll be 6 credits short every semester. But if we do well, we could say, listen, we did well. You got to let us in. Forget about our SAT scores. Forget about how we did in high school. Look, we're handling the workload. So we did it. I crushed it, but they didn't accept me. And so my buddy, taking the easy route, he decided to pack it and he went to University of Las Vegas. He left. And I said, fuck it, I'll stay. I'll do it again. At some point, they'll let me in. I did it again. They said no. I did it again. They said no. And on the fourth time, they broke me. And I was going to leave. I was going to go to New York and just run my business, which was doing very well. There was no need for me to go to college. Clearly, I wasn't made for college. I'm around all these kids. I'm falling behind with my credits. And my mother says to me, who teaches yoga for a living, I want you to meet this lady, Anita Racine, Professor Racine. I teach her yoga. She might be able to help you at Cornell. And I said, oh, that's ridiculous, Mom. Woman does yoga. She's not going to be able to help me. And, I sit down with Anita, Professor Racine, and she says, tell me about yourself. She says, Joe, I run this department at Cornell, human ecology. We like textiles. And I didn't really know what a textile was, right? And she said, we got 95 women in this textile department. We have no men. We're looking for a little diversity. I said, I love textiles. She accepted me into the program. And if I had to do it, that would be my major. And the rest is history. Graduated, changed my life.
Ironically enough, a couple things. But one, I also had 10 years on Wall Street, did the whole thing, the grind and so forth, and got a little burnt out. And then I started my CLSing, which I'm doing now. I started recently in the pandemic and very grateful it's taken off. But another thing I want to touch upon is your mom was big into the yoga and all that stuff for years. And it took you so much longer to finally listen to her in regards to that stuff, right?
Oh, my kids don't listen to me. So I get it. They'll, at 25 years old, finally, they'll say, oh, Dad drove me crazy for 25 years. He was right. But every day it's like white noise. They don't listen. And I didn't listen to her. She was vegan. She was the yoga, meditation, none of it. Back then, by the way, whoever's listening, watching, this was not normal. There was no yoga journal. There was no Whole Foods back then. My mother was way out ahead of the curve. So it really was. She was bohemian and crazy and crunchy and a crackpot, right? I wanted to be a wise guy.
Yeah. And then so Wall Street came. How long did you spend over there?
Wall Street came. I sold the business. I went there and I spent. Let's see. I got there in '95. I officially left completely in 2010. So 15 years. But in
Wow.
I built the business there and I sold it in 2005. The buyers of my business allowed me to move to Vermont. And I still handled a few accounts from a farm in Vermont. And that's where we started Spartan. We started Spartan on a farm in Vermont while I was on my spin bike every day trading for clients.
You got burnt out. You were just over it. And also you packed on a couple pounds during that time, right?
Packed on a few pounds, was burnt out. And I wasn't looking to make $1 billion. That really wasn't my thing. I like making anything was more than I ever dreamed of. So I just appreciated it. And I wanted to live. My mother died at a young age. My father died. I saw those guys go to jail. I wanted to squeeze as much out of this thing as I could.
We only get to do this once, not to sound too deep, too spiritual. It's not for a long time. I'm going to make every second count.
I make every second count. I got one shot.
And then what happened with the obstacle races or all this adventure stuff that you were like, that's where I'm going with this?
I was on Wall Street and I was feeling like I needed something. I ran into a guy in a stairwell on Wall Street. The elevator was broken one day, and he was carrying dumbbells up the stairs. And he was ripped. I mean, he looked great. And he convinced me to start meeting him in the stairwell, and I felt good again. I felt alive. I felt like a human should feel. And he got me to do an adventure race, and I fell in love with it. And so I said, "What's harder than this?" And he said, "Wow, a 24-hour adventure race. And sign me up. No, you got to be experienced. Sign me up." And then from 24 hour, I went to 5 day, and from 5 day to 10 day to 15 day. I was crazy. And in that whole process, I said I could do this as a business. This would be an amazing business. So I started messing around 21 years ago, while I was still on Wall Street, putting on events. But nobody, just like nobody listened to my mom, nobody would listen to me. I used to have to lie to people and say, "Hey, come out to this, farm, this place, the ski resort. We're gonna have a big barbecue." I would even send a bus and get like 40 people. I'd lie to everybody. I didn't tell them what we were actually doing. And they get there. I wake them up at 5 in the morning. Why are we getting up at 5 in the morning on a Saturday for a barbecue? Oh, we gotta get the barbecue. We gotta get the barbecue to the top of the mountain. And I would push them, 4 miles, 10 miles, 13 miles, and they would experience what you and I know is so awesome. And then they'd be hooked. But I couldn't get people to pay to do this stuff. I had to lie to them.
And then how'd they feel once it was done? They thanked you? Of
Of course, incredible.
course, incredible.
Incredible.
And then at some point sooner than later, you were all out of the Wall Street stuff, and then you started to really build this thing.
From 2000 to 2010, it was mostly barbecues and lying. 2010 and Death Race. I put on Death Race, which was crazy. That was a difficult one to imagine, signing up for something called a Death Race where you had to sign a waiver that said you may die, right? So couldn't really get that business to work. In 2010, after I sold my business, I was completely out of it. I decided, it was right after the financial crisis. I said, maybe we'll change the name, call it Spartan, make it a little shorter distance, 3 miles, 8 miles, 13 miles, put in some obstacles, make it feel like the military. And all of a sudden, 700 people showed up, and 1,500 people, and 3,000, 5,000, 25,000 people showed up. And now we're in 45 countries, pre-COVID, 45 countries, 325 events a year, 1.5 million registrations, and a lot of headaches.
Understood. Where'd you come up with the name Spartan? 300?
I don't know if it was the movie 300 or, we learned it in school, right? That word is so powerful. Less is more. Tough, resilient, gritty. Everybody wanted to be a Spartan. Modern
Yeah.
day militaries were based on Spartan principles. I don't know if it was the movie or it was something I studied in history, but it was on a sheet of paper of all the choices we made of names, and that was the obvious choice.
Yeah. I love it. And you met your wife at a race too?
Met my wife at a race. Met her for about 12 seconds, but she said something. I didn't have shoes on, and I was walking on rocks. She said, "Oh, you're going to hurt your tootsies." And that would have been a word my mother would have used. From her side of the family would say, have a word like that. And really jumped out at me. So, plus I was attracted to her. She was gorgeous, and I chased her down. And first date, I had her, I said, "Oh, let's go for a kayak." But she didn't know I wanted to go for like an 8-hour kayak. I figured I would trap her on the boat, We talked about everything, paddle, and really to the point where she passed out, actually. So hot. There was a boat going by. I think they threw us a couple of waters, because I used to go do those things with no water, no food, just to train for the races I would do. And needless to say, within a few weeks, literally within a few weeks, I proposed to her. And we're actually in Europe. I convinced her to come to Europe a few weeks later. We were going through Monte Carlo on the way to visit a friend. I did a race. She came with me to the race. She didn't participate. And we were traveling through Monte Carlo to go see my friend in France, because we were in Europe anyway. And there was a casino, like a James Bond casinos in Monte Carlo, right? 007.
That's great.
I said, "Let's go in there. I'm not a gambler, but let's go in there. We'll throw some money on the roulette wheel." And I don't know, it's probably in the book, I think. If we hit red 36, which is my number, we get married on the spot.
It's in the book.
Yeah. If we hit black 8, your number, you leave. I think 0, green 0. Well, she gets a tattoo, green double 0. I get a tattoo. Anyway, my number hit. Get married on the spot.
Bang.
And obviously, we questioned it. We didn't believe it. We came up with all kinds of excuses to not get married on the spot, but we got married quickly thereafter. And because of the second role, she had to get a tattoo, which I kindly took for her. I have a tattoo, I'm married, and I got 4 kids, all because of that casino.
That's it. You wouldn't have it any other way.
No.
I love it. When you started Spartan, correct me if I'm wrong, obviously I'm a huge fan. I was doing my homework because preparation breeds confidence. There was 800 competitors that were doing stuff like this at that time?
Oh my God, there were so many competitors. Anybody with a screwdriver and a hammer was in the obstacle race business. And it was bad. It was bad for business, right? Because people would collect other customers' money and then not be able to put on the event. And it was very messy, bad for the industry. But then there were 600, then there were 400, then there were 3, us, Tough Mudder, and some other brand I don't even remember. And then it was just us and Tough Mudder, and we were fighting each other hard for years. I announced a race in Wisconsin on a Saturday. They announced a race down the block, Wisconsin on Saturday. It was like head-to-head battle, losing tons of money. We were attacking each other, but I wouldn't quit. I was relentless. I actually moved my family to Asia in order to get to Asia first before Tough Mudder. And,
the definition of relentless.
Yeah, so we lived in Asia for a while. We became very, very big in Asia. We're big today. China is one of our largest markets, if not the largest, and even right now. And ultimately, Tough Mudder had some financial problems, so we bought them pre-pandemic. So now they're both under one roof, which makes it a lot easier because we're not killing ourselves.
Yeah. So you're the last man standing.
We are the last man standing.
Of course you are. I don't think anyone would bet against you. So if you go to do some more races, would you incorporate their name and stuff because they already had a built-in audience, or it's done, it's just everything Spartan?
No, I kept the. I have not. I still have not done a Tough Mudder event. That brand has a CEO under us, and I purposely fight with him still because I don't want to lose the edge that we had fighting with each other. So he runs that business, we run our business, and I'm not changing a thing. They were very formidable competitor. I mean, they were tough, and I don't want to lose that. So,
that's valuable to the audience, right? You don't want to lose that edge because that rivalry brought out the best of you and pushed you to another level. Is that accurate?
That's right. Like if I went to the gym this morning alone and I worked out, I would go to level 1. As soon as you show up, subconsciously, I go to level 5. You go to level 5. A third person shows up, we go to level 7 because we're all. And so I want to keep us on our toes, us and Tough Mudder.
You're out of your mind in the best way possible. I love it. You're a polarizing figure. I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of opinions about you. You're one of my favorite people because I agree with your mentality and everything that you preach and really what you just want to accomplish, which is help people have an outlet to transform into the best version of themselves. A lot of people are complacent. They don't want to make those changes. Why is that?
Well, the human brain, the number one motivator for the brain is the avoidance of discomfort. So that's what kept us alive on the planet as long as it has. We don't fall off a cliff. We don't freeze out in the cold. We avoid discomfort to keep us alive. And that's antiquated. We don't need that anymore. We're in living rooms now. We got Netflix, right? There's not a lion at our bed when we wake up in the morning. So we need to actually be uncomfortable to grow, to become anti-fragile. We are learning helplessness in this current state, certainly in the first world. So you got to get out there and push.
Yeah.
To survive, to grow, to be better. I don't know if I answered the question, but
no, I get it, brother. And also it's funny, like you can never connect the dots looking forward. It's always looking backwards. Like what a ride, what a journey. And obviously your best is yet to come. But are you surprised now looking back that you gravitated right away to these crazy obstacle races and so forth, or kind of fits your personality?
It fits where I grew up. I think I like. You ever see the? I don't know if you ever saw the show Ray Donovan, but every episode Ray Donovan, like there's some shit he's got to deal with, and somehow
Everyone.
everyone, and somehow he just rolls with it. Whether it's I mean, metaphorically, it's a rope climb, a wall climb, a fire jump. It's basically the obstacles we put in front of you, and that's what it was like in the neighborhood. Like shit happening all day, every day. And if you're in the construction business, which I was, same thing. Everything that can go wrong does go wrong. And so for me, it really was like a healthier, safer day in the life of. It really just emulates life, and it's fun. You don't have to actually miss payroll to get to get that drive, that action, right? Because we guys like you and me, um, I seek challenge. I seek like it makes me feel good. I'm sure firefighters feel that way. Police officers feel that way. Folks that enlist in the military and they go into danger. And so, isn't it awesome to go into danger and not be enlisted for 6 years, right? So, or not have to do 25 years in jail.
You speak it to my soul, brother, because when I started the marathons, for me, it was all mental. Because, like you said, I would have basically like an arena to be a gladiator and beat the shit out of myself and then surprise myself because I actually had more than I realized I was capable for. And then obviously I became obsessed with it. And now when I do other things in life, like start business, whatever the case may be, I use that as a frame of reference, which is really what, really I gravitated towards from your book. It's an outlet for you to prove to yourself how bad you are and how much you are capable of. And for the audience listening, I understand it's not for everyone, but I would suggest you try it at least once and see how you feel afterwards.
Yeah, and 90% of you will be addicted. It's addictive. Now, if this was 300 years ago, 200 years ago, and we were living on horseback and we were walking in horse shit every day, and there was lots of disease around us, I would suggest we get in the couch business and we invent Netflix because life was hard. But it's not. It's not like that anymore. It's too easy. The pendulum has swung too far. So get the fuck outside and do something hard.
I love it. I love it. Where are you going with this Spartan thing? What's the vision right now?
The vision is we are, if you know the company Louis Vuitton, right? LVMH is the stock symbol. They are a house of brands. I believe they own Tiffany, obviously Louis Vuitton, all these high-end brands. We are a house of brands of tough shit, hard things to do, right? And so I just want to be that place that you come to challenge yourself, to look yourself in the mirror, find out what you're made of. That's it. And I want 100 million people to start. I want to get 100 million people healthy and see where I could take it from there.
Yeah, I love it. And I just want you to know, just man to man, you're making such an impact on the world because even just think like reading your book inspired me to run marathons, which inspired me to start my CLS experience, which is impacting thousands, hopefully millions of lives and so forth. So that's you at the spearhead, just a giant ripple effect. And I appreciate you very much.
I'm hoping. I'm hoping. I mean, that's how it's got to go, right? I get two people, they get two people, and it just keeps going and going.
That's it. What motivated you to write the book?
I felt like a lot of people were saying, hey, Joe, this is like a cult, or this is like church. And I thought, well, there's a Bible, church. We need a Bible. We need a book. And I've been thinking about all these things that are in the book for 20 years anyway. So let me just vomit it up. Let me just vomit it up on a piece of paper. And it worked. The book became a big hit. But if you're out there and you're thinking about writing a book, you don't make any money with books. In the rare case you do, but this was more a way to say, hey, this is not just silly stuff crawling under barbed wire. There's actually some science here. There's a reason to do this tough stuff.
A method to the madness, so to speak.
Method to the madness.
Yeah. Was it an easy process once you started vomiting on paper?
No, it's never done. I remember a very, very close friend of mine, if not one of my best friends, he reads like a book every 2 days, literally. And so he, hey, read this. Tell me what you think. And I want to change it. And he said, it'll never be done. It's good enough. And I thought that was interesting. The saying came out of that conversation, which is, perfect is the enemy of done. Right? You'll never, if you sit there and try to get perfection, it'll never get done.
Yeah.
So I got the book as close as I could. And then let's just get it out there. Let's get the message going. And then look, you read it and you're running.
The rest is history. I love it. I heard you say recently that you just want to do all the cool shit on the obstacles and grab a Dorito out of someone's mouth and get them on the course and help them change your life and so forth. You're not as interested, obviously, in the business aspect from the CEO stuff. How do you wear so many hats? How do you do all of these things?
Fucking hard, man. It's a lot of things. I really wish, I say this not even half jokingly, I really wish the Department of Defense would just pay us to do this, because we need it. This country certainly needs it. All the countries need it. But to have to try to figure out how to make it work economically and make enough money, it's hard. It's hard. People don't pay enough for what we provide, right? Think about our team has to go on the side of a mountain in a hailstorm and build a course over 13 miles. There's animals, there's poison ivy, there's a hailstorm, everything that can, right? And then you come out and pay $100 to run that thing. And I got to manage 6,000 people throughout, and then lightning strikes. Like, very, very hard to make money. But I'm not playing the world's smallest violin. I love it, but I think I could do more good in the world if we got somebody like Department of Defense or my buddy at Unilever. If you're listening, the CEO of Unilever, Alan Jope. If somebody big should just pay.
You hear that, Alan?
Right. Somebody should pay. And my other buddy owns Saks Fifth Avenue. My buddy that owns Saks Fifth Avenue, by the way, he's awesome. You're not going to even believe this. He knew I was going through a really tough time, like we all were with this pandemic, trying to make it work. I had to lay off how many hundred people. Anyway, I open up a piece of mail. My wife opens a piece of mail at FedEx, and she goes, "Oh my God, you got to look at this." And I thought it was like from an angry customer or something. "I can't believe you canceled the races during COVID. What are you, a pussy?" I open it up. There's $1 million check in the FedEx from my friend that owns Saks Fifth Avenue. He said, "Listen," he said, "I had a really good week. I love what you're doing. You're changing the world. I hope I didn't insult you. Keep this. Use it if you need it. Keep it in the drawer, whatever." So, I mean, how does that ever happen? You've never heard a story like that. I can't even believe it happened. So we're obviously doing some good, but $1 million is not enough. I need more.
I understand. That's a good friend right there. You're a connected cat.
That's a good friend.
Yeah, that is. Another thing that I heard you say that really stuck out to me in the book, like, you don't want to get to the end of life, like in good shape, like all clean, like not used, like a car out of the dealership. You want to get there, like beat the shit out of, like, what a ride, so to speak. And so many people are just coasting as if they're going to live twice.
Yeah.
Wild.
You're probably not old enough to remember video games where you had to put the quarter in, right? But if you died, you put another quarter in. And I remember my friend and I at college saying, "You don't get to put another quarter in this one. Like you better make this one count."
100%. You're very optimistic. So am I, to an extent that it probably even rubs people the wrong way. There's zero good that comes from having a pessimistic attitude. Do you believe in like the law of attraction and stuff like that?
I believe that if you can fake it and smile and give energy to other people, the universe will just open up for you. Who the fuck wants to be around a curmudgeon, somebody that's miserable, somebody that sucks energy from? You don't want to be around that. I want to be around think about it. That's why there's that great saying, right? I want that guy, that girl in the foxhole with me when shit's going down. And so you want to be that person. Like, everybody would love me on Wall Street because I had this saying, no problem. Like, "Oh my God, I'm down $20,000. Yeah, no problem. I got it." Right? I don't know how I got it. I don't know what I got to do to fix it, but no problem. Calm down. I'll deal with it.
Love it. Couldn't agree more. Yeah, the worst thing in the world to me is negative energy. I want nothing to do with it. And as I continue to develop myself and stuff, I listen. You have to sever relationships. Unfortunately, people that just like try to bring you down, or maybe they don't even try. That's just their personality. I just want nothing, no part of it.
With you.
I got to ask you, what's the craziest story personally that you dealt with one of these wild obstacle courses?
I was in Alaska. I was in Alaska. It was 30 below. It was the Iditarod, the dog sled race, but we didn't have the dogs. And massive snowstorm. A couple people nearly dead and self-supported, and it sucked. I was freezing, and I wanted food. I wanted to sleep. Came upon a few Eskimos. I was funny. I'm saying it to you now. I wonder if it was a hallucination, but I think I went in an igloo, and the igloo might as well have been the Four Seasons. It was about 4 foot. I mean, it was right. You're out there in the middle of nowhere. It's an igloo, tiny little igloo. Anyway, that was crazy. Made it to the finish line. Almost lost my buddy, and I had to tie him to me. I had to literally drag him 50 miles. My buddy Ben. Crazy.
I love it. What was that? Your obstacle course or someone else's?
Somebody else. That was somebody put that on years ago. That was before Spartan. Our craziest story and all the obstacles we put on.
I imagine it was a death race.
Well, death race is crazy, but we had an obstacle. We have an obstacle called a tire flip. It's pretty self-explanatory. You flip the tire, and my course designer put the tire flip up on a hill, and apparently somebody was flipping the tire, and the tire started rolling. And down below, you got 7,000 people running, and it just so happened that a guy had a GoPro on, and this fucking 300-pound tire comes rolling down this hill. This guy catches it on a GoPro, it hits a rock, and it flies over the whole crowd. Nearly would have killed somebody. And the video gets out. And I just hired a new social media team, young kids. And I'm like, oh my God, this is a disaster for us. And he says, nope, we're gonna turn it around. And he names the tire Ted the Tire. And he says the tire got tired of flipping and wanted to go run the race. And he gets it on Good Morning America. But that was a near miss. When you're playing with obstacles and 1.5 million people a year, shit happens.
Ted the tire. That's a nice reframe right there. Got tired of flipping.
Tired of flipping.
I love that. And I just want to jump backwards for a second because it's important for the audience to hear this part. You were in a very serious accident back in the day, and the doctors weren't that optimistic about your future in regards to athleticism, right?
Yeah, I was in an accident. I went out the window of the car. My friend fell asleep. I went out the window 85 miles an hour. My leg was ripped out of my hip. They broke my hip to put my femur head back in the hip socket, and went to a bunch of doctors, and all the doctors, oh, you're not going to run again. You're barely going to walk. You're going to need crutches, a cane. And I just kept going to new doctors in New York until I got to hospital for special surgery. My buddy, Dr. Sue, he said, listen, he said, I don't know if this is going to work or not, but here's a protocol we could do. You're going to do a bunch of Pilates, you're going to do swimming, blah, blah, blah. And I became a maniac to get myself healthy. And this happens a lot with athletes. And I recovered. I'm 98% recovered, but it didn't have to be that way. I could have literally ended up, lethargic and immobile because that's what the doctors told me I had to be. But I found, and what I found doesn't always happen, but I found a way. There's always a third door, right? You go through this door, go through that door. Maybe there's a third door.
100%. As long as you never surrender, there's always a decision, always a choice.
Always a choice.
Yeah. I got to ask you, brother, who were some people over the years? People always ask me, I'd love to hear your perspective, and you're one of them for me. Who are some people over the years that inspire you, that you sharpen the axe for, they get you excited and jumped up?
Well, I mean, some ancient folks. Ernest Shackleton, Sir Ernest Shackleton, great explorer out of England. Amelia Earhart, right, pilot. my mom. Obviously, I got a couple of mentors. My buddy Al in Ithaca, my buddy Marty in New Jersey. They're both in their 80s. Obviously, my father. And then, there's still a couple of crime bosses, believe it or not, that are still alive. I know that sounds terrible. There's one in particular that was, yeah, was an amazing guy. So
I appreciate the vulnerability.
yeah.
I got to sign up for a Spartan race.
Let's go. I'll sign you and your whole audience up whenever you're ready.
I would love that. Which one do you suggest?
Well, you're in New York, so I got something in New York pretty soon, I would imagine. So you email me afterwards. Anybody could, joe@spartan.com. Just keep it very brief, like one sentence.
Yeah.
And I'll get you signed up.
And for the audience listening, we have 100,000 strong now. Let us know that you heard the conversation, that you're going to sign up for a Spartan race, and then tag Joe in that post and let him know which one you signed up for.
Awesome.
You dig?
You're the man.
We'll leave it off with this, Joe. Just for the audience, what in your opinion is the most important trait to push through adversity?
It could be gratitude, believe it or not. Because if you're grateful, I said to my son the other day, he's having my older one. You met my younger boy, and he's having a moment with wrestling where we train fucking hard, and then you lose, and then you train hard, and then you lose, and so he's having a moment, and I said to him, I said, you get to do this. You get to do this. This kid's without legs, without arms. They don't get to wrestle. It's a fucking privilege. So if you approach things that way and you appreciate, like, I get to shovel sand today, I get to fix the roof, I get to go to work, right? I get to be in this hot building without air conditioner. If you appreciate things around, it's easy to get through it then.
100%. Right? Like I say that all the time to my clients. Like, you don't have to go to the gym today. You get to go to the gym today, and it changes your perspective on everything. I love that you said that.
Yeah.
Where can the audience, I know they're already obsessed with you. Where can they find you? Where can they support you? Where can they catch up with you? Where do you hang out the most?
I'm not a super social media guy, but I got somebody that does it all for me, and they make me do videos and stuff on Instagram. I think it's at Real Joe de Sena, and email. I'm old fashioned, man. Believe it or not, email now is old fashioned. That's how modernized this world is. It used to be a feather pen and a piece of paper.
I understand. When was the last time you ran a marathon? Or are those too soft for you?
Last year, I ran 120K in the mountains of Australia. I don't know when the last time I ran 25 miles. Nothing organized. My last race, probably last year. But I got something coming up June 25th. I'll be in Cortina, Italy, at a 100-miler from Lavaredo.
100-miler?
In the mountains of Italy.
That's unbelievable. Do you have a goal for that, or just beat the shit out of yourself a little bit and survive?
Just be alive at the end. I don't want to be dead.
Yeah. And not only will you be alive, but you'll be alive, not just existing.
Right.
I love it. I appreciate you so much, brother. I just want to say you don't shy away from your challenges as they've shaped you. It's something I find very relatable and liberating. You are the definition of resilience, grit, heart, from your entrepreneurial journey, and started when you were cleaning pools to creating the largest, toughest, and most respected obstacle racing company on the planet. Your mindset is absolutely bulletproof. You've inspired millions, including yours truly. So thank you, brother. I could personally guarantee your best is yet to come. You're someone I admire, I appreciate, and I respect very much. And this will absolutely not be the last time that you and I collaborate, Joe.
I'm so psyched that you reached out to me, and I'm so psyched that the book changed you. You're awesome.
I appreciate you so much, buddy.
Thanks, pal.
Thank you. So much fun, Joe.
That was great. You gave me a little motivation today. I got to drop.